Yo, welcome to Re.MARK.S Journal. I'm going to take you through the core aspects today. And let me just get to that. There we go. Ribbon for the win. So here are the core aspects, okay? What these are is you. It's all of you. To the foreseeable, to my foreseeable, to my observations, I've categorized every individual to have these core aspects. So these are kind of philosophies, these are concepts, these are constructs, these are ways of understanding, and I have been observing lots of things, and they fall into these 6 different categories or aspects, because within each of these aspects they have their own perspective, they have their own level of conscious awareness. And in the middle, I'm still undecided really what should go in the middle. I started with putting you or aware, awareness, is, now, I don't know, I don't really know, source, unity, I don't really know, but the middle can just stay blank for now. It can stay a void that's going to be, think of it as your awareness, okay? Because in future designs I'll have this all blacked out and I will refer to it as aware. You'll see it written a lot. So think of this as an eye. This is the iris. It's a very colorful rainbow iris, and that in the middle, that's the pupil. That is the center. That is your awareness. So whichever way that you look around, that's going to be your focus. That's going to be where your awareness is, and wherever your awareness is, that's kind of who you are at that given time. And it can be perspective through thought, but it can also be prevalent in your reactions, how you change. I want to talk roughly about how we acknowledge that we go through emotional states, quite a few of them each day. And we are fully in acknowledgement of that we change emotionally, that we are sometimes taken over by some unconscious process, whether we're triggered and we react in a certain way, or someone says something and we react and think in a certain way, and then we're always in this ego style of warfare where we're just trying to stand up for ourselves and attack others and keep our own place in the hierarchy. And that's all of the self-experience. That's all identification with this concept called self. And self shares mind and body. So as far as we are aware, this is kind of where we live, and this is where we identify as. And we know that we have passions and emotions, urges, will, compulsion. All of this is this urge aspect. Because when we're taken over, for example, in a state of urge, we channel the aspect of will. We can achieve a lot, and we can also be driven automatically by compulsion, impulse, decision. It can be very useful to use this power, this force of urge. But generally, maybe I should, in the next video, or right now, go through one by one. Okay, so I started going on by self, talked about urge, but let's go around this way now. So, in conjunction with a lot of these embodiment things I'm going to be producing in the realm of dance and body movement, doing interactive workshops and tutoring people one by one and stuff, this is going to be this next phase of my life. It's been my current phase of life for a while since I started dancing, which has been an absolutely transformative way of life. I advocate everyone get into some form of dance. But if studying and practicing and going to class and interacting socially and putting yourself outside of yourself, outside of your ego and into your body, if that's all too scary for you, then hopefully me explaining these shifts and how we change throughout the day, how we can empower ourselves to shift towards this end or shift towards this end, and ultimately through awareness have a direct connection with our soul with our love, with our God, with our morality, with our, with our beauty, with love. In future diagrams, digitally, I will show the different connections and patterns that you can make between these 6 core aspects. So I want to talk now about high. Hi. High has been nicknamed as grace. By the way, I gave self the nickname of ego to identify a personality, a character, to personify also these 6 core aspects. And these 3, I've deemed them as like prime. I don't really know how to describe it. They all have unique powers, and they can all take over our awareness, either temporarily or for a prolonged state. And you can be enthralled in this aspect, or you can be enthralled in between the 2, and you're just stuck in this self-mind. And because I say these are prime because it tends to be that this is the fundamental thing that's kind of, overpowering, making decisions. Our reactions, our triggers, is everything based around self. And once we start stepping outside of self in different ways, deeper into the mind, and come out the other side through will, through urge, through sheer force, we can choose to make actions to bring us out of our mind, out the other side, and be proactive and get shit done, and become really energized in that kind of way. Or we can go through the more passive way, the more beauty and nature inspired way, where we get really in touch with our body. In this current phase that I'm in, with using dance as an influence and learning from the teachings of dance and getting in contact with my own body, my own nature, my own Gaia, my own life force. This is huge, and I advocate everyone go this way. This is very useful, but dangerous and naughty. And then this way is, a little bit more friendly, let's say, and enriching in its own right. And we can get into the body much quicker if we bypass this way and just get into a high energetic state. And we can do that through proactive working out. We can have body and urge work in unison, just like self and other aspects can work in unison. But yeah, we can make decisions and work out and really get into our bodies, and using willpower, get into a state of high energy frequency. And then we shift into this area here. And then we're in a high body state. And I'll make separate videos about all these separate states in between that I'll also display. But this is a very rudimentary form of showing you, of introducing you to these core aspects. I could keep talking forever, but I won't. This is a quick one. Maybe I'll do it now. Duo. So this is in a simplistic way. I want to kind of show my observations of perspective, and it's to do with dichotomy and trichotomy. In summary, most people are used to a dichotomy. They're used to people being on one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. I'll do it here so it can focus. Yeah, they're on either side of the spectrum, and they can sit in the middle in the fence, and it's kind of a communication between these two sides, the left or the right, the liberal or the whatever it is. And so if you take that middle, if you're on the fence about anything, if you take that point of perspective and draw it out so that you see both from afar, you're not just stuck in the middle, and you don't get to choose either or, you can see both. And so that's now a trifecta, now that's a triangle, now that's a different dimension, because before we had just a kind of one dimension thing. And then now we have a 2-dimension thing. And what if we go into 3-dimension and 4-dimension? Who knows? But you get what I mean. I think the way that we have been taught and the way that we've been believing everything is a duality. I, for the longest time, believed that everything is this world is a world of duality. Well, if you see it like that, it's gonna remain the same for you. Perspective begets reality. So now I'm choosing to see things as a trichotomy, and this is where the origin story of this formation happened. It's like once I started to see things in a trichotomy, and you see these like as their fundamental, 3 being the lowest number of this second dimension, then you start to see patterns that's not either or, it's a combination of both, and it can be a spectrum. So if you see this as a color chart, and you, instead of having all of these divisions to neatly put in the box and explain the different characteristics, what if you take all those barriers away and you start understanding body being represented in green and so on and so forth? If this is a color spectrum and your awareness, you can choose, once you are aware of your awareness as a concept, and then you're aware of all of these as concepts within yourself, you know that this is usually the starting point for most people. For the world that we've built, we're of the self-mind. Body's along for the ride. We don't give it respect. And we briefly connect with urge through different things, different practices, usually in accordance with the body. Usually there's a direct correlation when you shortcut through awareness. But we need to educate to the mind, because as adults, this is how we learn. As children, this is how we learn. And this is how we learn. And then we're taught about this, and then we get stuck here. So yeah, bit of a long video, but a first, I guess, successful attempt at a landscape video using a hands-free rig. I hope you've enjoyed my journal.